What's going on, my Bozzanos? Welcome back to a brand new special video. And in today's video, we're finally going to be talking about why I love playing DPS in Marvel Rivals. After the last two videos where I explained to you guys why I love tanks and why I love playing healers, now I'm going to tell you guys why I actually love playing DPS in this game. Now, this is going to be kind of controversial because obviously we already know about the whole saying about insta-locking DPS and all you're doing is doing a 3 DPS, 4 DPS, and no tank or healer or whatever, and all of these other names. Even though at the same time, I will say that I say some of those things myself. The DPS role is definitely one of the most amazing and one of the most satisfying roles in this game. And I will say that right now without hesitation. Later on, I will kind of rag on a little bit about people who actually do insta-lock DPS. And definitely, I am probably going to make maybe 2 more videos about Marvel Rivals. One of those actually consisting of why I don't actually like certain roles in this game. I will say right now that that doesn't really take away from how amazing it is to play as DPS. And I want to get into why. Now, honestly, to be real with you guys here, the most copious amount, okay, what am I trying to say here? The role actually with the most copious amounts of characters in this game is actually the DPS or the duelist role. The duelist, their actual job in the game is very simple this time. Instead of actually me, explaining the tank and healers, you want to know what the actual role, what you got to do as a duelist? You got to kill people. That's literally all you got to do. You ever play Call of Duty? Huh? You ever play freaking Team Fortress 2? You ever play any game that you actually have to kill anything ever? Well, that's basically what you got to do in duelist mode, okay? That's all you got to do in this role right here. All you got to do is basically go around, kill people, maybe heal for your healers or whoever you got going on. But basically what you're doing as a healer, as a DPS, is you're supposed to be basically, putting pressure to the opposition, killing their back line, killing their front line. It doesn't matter. Just kill them. And yeah, you might be saying, but what? There might be a better way to say it, KamyKam. Like, what if you talked about when you were Iron Man? Sometimes you gotta lock in Iron Man in order to get the maximum pulse every so 2 seconds and farm for freaking ults and stuff like that. And yeah, you can say all that stuff. But again, this is not that type of video. Even if I was a professional player in this game, which who knows, I could probably become a professional player with this game as much as I played and talk about it as well. But at the same time, I wouldn't even bore you guys with all those details. It doesn't matter. Look, this is a game where you have to kill people, and that's all it is. And I will say right now, actually playing as a duelist is one of the most funnest things in this game. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't play that many duelists, which is really crazy because I'm trying to defend it here. But I actually don't play that many duelists. My main from the jump was actually actually is Magic. Magic was actually my first DPS I actually picked up. And I do play Magic to a certain extent, but I actually find that Magic is one of those characters that you have to play a lot with her and you have to get good at her because I feel like her gameplay is really awesome and rewarding, but it's also a lot of high risk. So initially I used to play as Magic and I honestly was having fun with her until I did eventually actually see psylocke. Now, psylocke is different. Psylocke is actually one of my most favorite characters ever in Marvel, right? Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I'm not too much of a fan of the old original psylocke with the whole, hey, I'm a British woman named Betsy Braddock and I'm in a Japanese girl's body or whatever. And I didn't really like that. I'm going to be honest with you guys, but I did read Demon Days, who was actually made by Peach Momoko, who actually did make the psylocke design in this game and also made the Storm design with the white dreads and the nice, the pants and the booty. That was Peach Momoko as well. And I actually love her designs and I like her actual stories. And that's where this psylocke actually came from. Her name is actually Psy, not Kwan or Betsy or anything. Her name is actually Psy. And I think this is one of the coolest, most awesomest versions of psylocke ever, even though she was only prominent in one issue of Demon Days, to be real. But honestly, at the end of the day, I do love this version of psylocke, and I gravitated towards her because she was cute, fun to play as. And look, I love a character that is fast and also likes to get around places and all that stuff secretly and stealthily. I'm a little sneaky little bastard when it comes to that stuff. When I actually did used to play Team Fortress 2, now back then I was like 10 years old, and sometimes I will play Team Fortress 2 and I will see myself playing as someone like the Spy. I legitimately like just going around your team and just killing you. I just like killing your healers and just helping my team. And I like to be sneaky like that and just like, you know, assassinate some of your DPS. And I like to just get in there and do a Shonuma Yukare! You know, I just love doing that sometimes because I just like pissing you off, you know? Actually, you guys, how was that impersonation? I'm not gonna lie, how was that? I didn't. Did I kill that? I don't know, man. But really, at the end of the day, that's why I actually gravitated towards psylocke. And the thing about DPS characters is that whoever you gravitate towards, whether it be Iron Man, Spider-Man, oh Jesus Christ, Iron Fist, the Punisher, whatever, you will gravitate towards one of those DPS because it is just legitimately fun to play as them, or you might like their personalities or stuff like that. I just talked about like why I love psylocke, but another DPS I actually really love playing as is Squirrel Girl. And I know, like, you might be saying to yourself, Kammy, you're already talking about freaking Squirrel Girl, you freaking gooner. What's going on with you, baby boy? And yes, I am a gooner. That's not the point, though. The point of the matter is that Squirrel Girl is actually legitimately fun to play. Now, some of you guys might be saying, oh no, but she's so easy to play as. What would you like to play as an easy character? Well, then why are you playing a Scarlet Witch who she does is just hold left click and then that's all she does? She does left click and then she presses right click and then there you go. You killed somebody. It's really, really easy. You don't even got to aim with that girl, do you? Now, we all have our little vices and we love to play as certain characters that actually are they might actually come off as easy, but at the same time, you know, this is how it is. You know, it's like, hey, some people like playing as Jigglypuff. Some people like playing as freaking Captain Falcon. Two completely different ways of, you know, and like, I know people will probably try to say, well, every character is hard to play as in this game. You have to get good at them. And there is actually some truth to that. Not going to lie. Like, at the end of the day, you do have to master some of the characters and their kits and how you know, actually engage in fights and stuff like that. And I will have to say that Psylocke was definitely a character I had to get definitely used to. And Squirrel Girl, even if she is seen as kind of like an easy character, she's, you know, at the end of the day, you do still have to practice. If you want to get better at anything, you have to practice. And that doesn't mean just thinking that you can just, you know, do all the work by just relying on the most broken moves and with all that stuff. No, someone can actually exploit that. One of the biggest things about a fighting game is actually being able to exploit a lot of moves in the game. Not everything is just one-sided. Now, some things are, yes, but you are supposed to be able to exploit a lot of moves that they actually are giving to you in these games. And that's what makes it really fun. Now, in all honesty, yes, like I said, what I'm trying to get in here is like, yes, you can exploit some people's moves. You can have an easier character that you play as, but at the end of the day, every character like actually has their own form of skill. And whether you master that person's form of skill determines where you are going to be at in terms of the game and the roster and all that stuff. So I will say right now that, yeah, Psylocke is a harder character to play as than Squirrel Girl. But does that mean that I had to legitimately sit back in the back lines and just like, you know, launch my nuts at everybody, which, you know, pause, but like, does that mean that that was so easy? Yeah, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that sometimes there's Spider-Man comes in and then he just like web swings me and then he just like freaking pulls me off of the map and then like a freaking Punisher comes in, does a freaking ult move and then just freaking shreds my health and whatever. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen. There are going to be people in this game who actually legitimately you know, exploit your weaknesses and exploit your, you know, they will see your patterns and actually exploit them. That is the nature of a lot of games where you have to fight people. And hey, look, if you can't actually exploit the fact that I come behind you and I kill basically all of your healers, and so that you guys get like shredded by the tanks and DPS on my team, that's your problem. Because like at the end of the day, look, we all got to get better at the game, and we all got to, you know, figure out what we can and cannot do. And that's just kind of the nature of this game. There was a video that NetEase recently put out about how like apparently there is no EOMM in this game, and that if you suck in this game, you essentially do just suck. Now, Look, there might be some truth to that. I will honestly, I would probably want to like analyze that myself. I'm not the best person when it comes to analyzing stuff like that. And honestly, I don't think I could really just do a single video on that, because that would require me doing experimentation, a long thought process. I couldn't just do that in one straight video. But I will say right now that, hey, look, there might be an element to that that actually is probably true. Sometimes you might actually suck as a DPS. And I'm talking to you, Spider-Man. Look, Spider-Man is one of the most amazing and fun player characters to play as in this game. But just because you love Spider-Man and you might have grew up with the movies and stuff like that, and I get it, okay? I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I did not really actually grow up with the other one, though. I didn't grow up with what was it called? The Andrew Garfield movies. And I definitely don't really care for the Tom Holland movies. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no real actual, I don't have any interest in like honestly watching those movies. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I'm just going to insta-lock freaking Spider-Man, think I'm going to carry the team just because I like do little happy slaps on the freaking back line over there with Luna Snow every now and then. Like I said, in this game, everybody in this game needs their own like skill. Like everybody is, you need to figure out what is the best way that you can play as a certain character. What is the best way that you can help a team member or whatever. You don't always need to figure that just because you like a character doesn't mean that you're actually going to play as the best character. Now, I know that's a hard pill to swallow. I understand, because sometimes you just want to say, well, I just want to play as this one character that is really, really fun. Well, if you're not good as the character, and if you're not actually practicing to get good as said character, then there really is no reason for you to play as said character. Now, the people who actually do that, who actually do want to play as a character and do actually suck, hey, more power to you to actually want to get better at that character and to literally put the practice and effort in. Like I said with me, when I played as Psylocke, I didn't really know what I was doing. Some of the times nowadays, I'm actually pretty bad at my aim, and sometimes I don't really know how to push, or really, I don't really know how the best way to really go in as Psylocke, honestly, because she doesn't do the most damage. She is an assassin in a way, and I don't really understand how assassins pretty much work, because again, this is my first hero shooter. I don't exactly know how everything really works. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to just sit up here and act like I can't get better, that I can't actually figure out what's going on and, you know, actually do my little research or anything like that. One of the best ways to actually get good in this game is to literally watch other people. Literally watch other people, copy what they do, and maybe, just so maybe, if you get good enough at copying them, maybe go off and do your own thing if you can actually, you know, think. A lot of these games are about thinking. If you can think good and you can think about what's the best way to go about a decision in this game, then you will be able to either prosper or you might fail, because a lot of the decisions in this game and anything in life, actually, ironically speaking, can either come with a good repercussion or a bad repercussion. And it can really just go both ways. And that's no truth with this game. So I had to learn about that most of the time when I'm playing this game and figuring out how the frick everything is going to go down and all this other stuff. And honestly, I did try to like other characters. I've actually tried playing as Black Widow, or I even tried playing as who is she called? Like, of course, I've actually tried playing as Storm. And currently I'm actually trying to get good at like Hela, because I really like her design, I'm not gonna lie. And one of her newest costumes, I really like her design a lot. And yeah, I know that's pretty that's pretty superficial, but at the same time, just let me just go in peace, okay? But at the end of the day, I just really think that the DPS role is actually definitely fun if you actually do legitimately try to, get good at it. Definitely peel for your team though, because I definitely see those entitled DPS members. The people on the teams that do not like when they're actually playing, they don't really like peel or anything. They don't really try to, get their own health packs, and they don't try to. They always will say bad healers, GG, no heals, and all this stuff. And that's actually where a lot of that does come from. A lot of the time as a DPS, while you can be healed by someone else, there are health packs around for the map for a reason. Like they made those in the game for a reason, because if your teammate who is a healer is dead, or if like I don't know, you're too far away from them, aka Spider-Man, or if you're like you're in the like even if you're like you're close around, but you're like in the sky as like Storm or Iron Man. This is especially Iron Man. You got to go and just find a health pack for really quickly because hey, look, the Luna Snow is busy over there protecting and trying to keep the Thor and the freaking Emma Frost alive. Like, why do you think you're so special? There is a large amount of toxicity when it comes to DPS in this game. There is a huge part, and I'm pretty sure I'm definitely not the first person that can actually tell you that. But that definitely is just like the thing about DPS in this game. A lot of the DPS in this game, the people who like main and insta-lock DPS, they're very entitled people. You will never find one freaking DPS who doesn't like instantly just like, oh yeah, I insta-lock DPS and stuff like that. And they're usually like always entitled people who just don't want to like switch over to tank or healers or whatever. And look, that's actually a problem with the game. I will admit here, sometimes, if you don't really want to play as other characters because, hey, you're just not interested in playing as Emma Frost. Maybe you're not interested in playing as Loki or someone like that. And because the only character that you're actually like playing as is DPS, that's who you're actually going to play as. And hey, that's actually a problem with the game. I don't know why NetEase didn't really see the problem with which is there. Now, again, I was really going to get into all the problems with the DPS, and I will say right now, like I said, the DPS are very, very, a lot of people online are very entitled. They think that you're supposed to heal them all the time, and they are supposed to like be the most important part of the team, and because they're getting high off of the dopamine release that they get from, killing everybody on their other team and all that stuff. And I get it. That's great. You're getting good kills. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But at the end of the day, here's my problem. They actually do have a reason why they actually think like this. Because of the reason why their favorite characters that they want to play as are either DPS, like they have no choice, that's really the problem. Now, how would you solve that? Well, you introduce them to a character that they actually like playing as, and that's actually a tank or a healer or something like that. Well, the problem is with this game is that the amount of DPS compared to healers and tanks is completely abysmal. The ratio is like, I don't know, like freaking 16-1, I would say. Now, probably it's not crazy like that because I'm not good at math. But at the end of the day, the amount of DPS just from the character selection screen is just ridiculous. Even from season 1 of this game, it was always ridiculous and it made no freaking sense. Because the thing about it is you might have like nine tanks, maybe 9 the freaking healers, and then, oh, look at that, there's like 17 freaking DPS characters. And look, I get it. A lot of Marvel characters, which, they had the basis game on, are actually like more DPS type roles. Like, could you really see Psylocke as a tank? Could you really see Spider-Man as a healer or something of the sort? Like maybe in some instances and whatever in the comics history, yes, maybe, but no, that's not exactly what their characters are. And that is pretty much the reason why. Now, recently, NetEase has actually said that they can actually make original characters for this game that could probably actually fill in the role of the gap for some of these characters, because a lot of Marvel characters can be seen as DPS characters just by their nature. But the point of the matter is that, like I'm trying to get at, there are way too many DPS characters in this game. There's actually not enough like tanks to really choose from in this game. And there's lots of people who play this game, and there's lots of people who don't want to play as healer or tank. And it's one of the biggest reasons why. And like people say, oh no, playing as tank and playing as healer is freaking is miserable and all this stuff. No, it's not that freaking miserable. You just don't want to play as Captain America because you don't like his gameplay. You don't like playing as Emma Frost. Crazy opinion, but like you don't like playing as them. I will see a lot of people who don't play as tank, who didn't play as tank ever. They're now gravitating towards Emma Frost because they probably just like the character. They looked at like Hulk or something. They're like, hey, I gotta play as something, And like I said, there are those people they're like the DPS out there who are entitled, but there's also those people who are actually team players who just want to win, and they're just playing as a character that they just don't have that much interest in. And they have so many like characters and Marvel that they can actually take inspiration from, and it's crazy that they're not really taking advantage of that. In the 9 months that this game has actually been released, do you know how many characters that we've gotten? We've gotten a good couple of characters. But in terms of the roles that we've gotten probably 2 more support characters in Vizzy and freaking Ultron, which, you know, a lot of people like to say, oh, he's not that much of a support or whatever. And then tank, we just got, oh, look at that, Emma Frost. But then over here with DPS, we get Blade, which is the most recent DPS character. We get Blade, we get Jean Grey, we get freaking we get Reed Richards, we get freaking Firestorm. You might be saying to yourself, oh, well, that's just 1 more tank, you know, 2 more healers, whatever. That's only like 3 more characters that are not, you know, DPS. And there's only like 4 more DPS characters. What's wrong with that? Well, that's, of course, adding on top of the DPS characters that we already have in the game. As of season 3.5 right now, there are 10 Vanguards, which are tanks, 9 Strategists, which are healers, and 22 Duelists. They have more Duelists than they have Vanguards and Strategists combined. That's crazy. This is the reason why I feel like people are not seeing the true problem here. Whenever I hear people talking about like what's really ruining Marvel Rivals, or why people are like actually, you know, turned off of the game or whatever, they're not talking about the whole like clear discrepancy here, where there are just too many DPS, and now people just want to play as DPS because they want to play as characters they actually want to play as because they're interested in those characters. And you got all those people who want to do that versus the people who don't want to do that. In all of the discussions that I've actually seen people when they're talking about Marvel Rivals, they don't really bring this whole like in balance up. There is not a balance in this game, and I feel like for everyone to be cool with everything, most likely for everyone to be cool with a lot of the things that are going on with this game, it would just help to be able to play as characters that you actually want to play as. Sure, I actually do want to play as Psylocke, actually 100% of the time, not gonna lie. And sometimes I want to play as Luna Snow, yeah, I will be honest. And sometimes I want to play as Emma Frost. But heck, I don't have that option because, you know, people just always insta-lock DPS. And again, there are people who are entitled to that, who don't really care about winning. They just want to be who they want to be, and it's like kind of selfish, really. But there's also those people who legitimately have a legit actual case when it comes to the characters that they actually want to play as. They just don't know who else to play as besides a duelist because, hey, they only see characters they like to play as in the duelist role. This is a big problem with Marvel Rivals, and I really don't understand why they're not really addressing this. NetEase seems to really like to, you know, actually listen to the fans and what they actually want from the game, especially when it comes to like banning people for like being like throwing and stuff like that. This is actually still one of my most favorite games to play right now. At the end of the day, though, they still do have to address this issue because it's a problem that is really just plaguing this game. I would really love it if for like the rest of the, you know, the month, or not the month, but the rest of the year, they just like actually released support and freaking tank roles. Yeah, sure, that's like too many. Like, oh, you might be saying like that's too many freaking tanks and support. Well, again, 22 freaking duelists to freaking 10 and 9 Vanguards and Strategists? Are you kidding me? Freak that. I'm going to ask for whatever the heck I want. I don't really care. But yeah, guys, with that being said, that is the reason why I actually love playing as Duelist in this game. Now, like I said, like I don't really want to just have it be so that the problems I was addressing in this video are the main source of this video. But I do legitimately like just going up to people as Psylocke, dashing through them, and then, you know, just using my shurikens on them and shooting them until they die. I just love that stuff. I love being cheap with Squirrel Girl, and I like playing as Storm sometimes when I just feel like being a little cheap and, you know, trying to win desperately. You know, I really do legitimately like that. I don't want to take that away, but there definitely are problems with the duelist role. And I think it definitely was probably going to be my longest segment in this video, in this like series. I talked about the healers, and I did talk about the tank, but I did probably talk a little bit more about the duelist role because, again, I have so much opinions about this role. And I really do love it. You know, it is my favorite role to play as, probably. I'm not gonna lie, just because psylocke is the thing in it. But honestly, I do hope that someday we will address these issues and duelists and everybody can have a much better time in this game. Yeah, guys, with that being said, that is going to be the end of this video. I'm pretty sure that's all of the reasons why I love playing as whatever character in this game. I've had a long journey getting to actually love every single role in this game. And honestly, I'm just really appreciative that you actually guys do seem to like these videos. Not sure about how much I will actually make more of these videos in terms of like, oh yeah, how much I love or don't like playing a certain roles in this game. Yes, but at the end of the day, I just think that, you know, I just wanted to just kind of gush about a game I really like. So, and you guys seem to like that as well. Well, yeah, what do you guys actually love about playing DPS? And do you guys actually want me to actually make a video where I'll talk about why I don't like playing as certain roles in this game? Let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, guys, thank y'all for watching. If you guys like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night if you're watching this. And as always, Johnny.